Hey guys, Toby here, back again on the SnorriDev channel, and today I have something special for you. We're going to go to the moon, Apollo style. So it's not a normal mission. It means we're going to have to dock with a landing thingy-mabobber and then use the landing thingy-mabobber to land on the moon. Now you may be wondering certain questions, like why? Well, I don't know what why means because you didn't specify, so I'll answer the whole question from the beginning. What we know is that there is a race of people, and this race of people lives somewhere on Kerbin. We've been told that they have a space center, but we have no idea where it is. So, as you can imagine, it's pretty scary. Now, what I've just assumed, just based on research of my own rockets, is that these guys are actually terrorists. And they're not just any sort of terrorists, they are communist terrorists. And I'm going to call them the Communauts. And so I feel they have a nuclear bomb site. There is a giant hole or not hole, but a circle on Kerbin, with a dot in the middle, and people say it's from a comet. I think it's from a nuclear bomb. I don't think it would come from a comet or crater. I don't know. I think it's a nuclear bomb, and it's a nuclear bomb site. So, what we need to do, for some reason, is land on the moon to prevent them from bombing us, because that makes sense. Because you see, if we're on the moon, they can't hurt us, I think. That's what makes sense to me. That's what makes sense in this Kerbin government system. If you don't like it, vote in the next election for Kerbin president, and make sure not to vote for a communist. Now, as we are launching our rocket, and again, saving the world from communism, of course, we are doing well. Yes. Okay. Okay, so now I'll be a little more serious. So that's completely serious. What I said before is completely serious. If you find that space center, I want you to send a probe there. I want you to bomb it. If you find it on your Kerbin, bomb it, bomb it, bomb it with everything you can, because it is dangerous. They're going to try and take you over. But this rocket is a pretty simple rocket. It's a few-stage rocket, and we're going to use it to get to the moon. I may do a few more missions like this. I don't want it to get boring, so I'll try to go to interesting places with it. The reason why this is different from another moon mission is because this style of mission is so much more efficient to do. The reason being that the amount of mass you have when you're landing is very small, and so when you take off and when you land, you really don't need anywhere near as much fuel as you would normally use. And so that's more efficient. So what you can see I'm doing here is I'm just using the maneuver node system. If you're in this situation, you should really take full advantage. The maneuver nodes are pretty good. So if you're in a situation where you want to use the maneuver nodes, or don't want to use maneuver nodes, but you're in like a tough situation, I would recommend using them because they are extremely useful. Even if you know what you're doing, it's just good to know exactly how much delta V you'll really need. So what I'm doing here is I'm just getting out, or I'm getting out actually. This is the Toby astronaut, and he's just going to climb down the ladder now into the other pod. Now the reason I'm doing this before we're docked is actually because it's very hard to dock in a situation where the other capsule isn't being controlled. So I'm just getting him in the capsule so that it's easier to control. And you may be asking, why me? Isn't that narcissistic? Well, I feel that Yinling, Lokio, and Fuser67 would fight too much about who gets to land on the moon. So it's just me. You guys can go complain all you want while you're orbiting the moon, while I get to walk all over it. So take that. Now you can see I am not very good at getting in my spacecraft. It is... Oh, there we go. I learned how to grab a ladder in space. I'm a genius. So what I'm going to do now, or what I will do, is I will just turn it around. Now this may seem super easy. Let me tell you, it's not. Because see, I'm just going to decouple this right here. And I'm now going straight for it. Or maybe, did I cut it out? Yeah, I think I either cut it out or it's coming up. But I missed the first time, and I'm gonna just blame the radio communication interference with the communist evil Kerbins that bomb the Kerbin system and blow up parts of the moon. I don't know. It's not my problem. Let's just see if we can get this docking done. Turn it around, point it there, right at the docking target. Now, one thing that's important to know when you're doing docking is that you should really use your retrograde vectors and your prograde vectors correctly. If you go prograde to the target, it will go faster relative to you. If you go retrograde to the target, it will go slower relative to you. And when you're trying to dock, you want to go as slow as possible relative to your target before you aim for it, because otherwise you are not going to dock, and it's going to be very difficult. So now what I'm doing is I'm just turning my ship around to fight communism, of course. I'm going to point it where I need to point it as soon as I figure out what that is. So you can see there I'm going. I'm now just waiting nicely. You get a nice view of the planet Kerbin from what I see. And we are going to take off. Now, one important thing to know about docking, just so you know, it's really frustrating. Here we go. Here's a maneuver node. Remember to use it correctly. If it's always good to just check what you're doing before you do it, because if you mess up, you're screwed and you're out of fuel. Maybe I think I could easily return in that, but I'd miss the moon and it would be very depressing and boring to watch. So just remember to do that. So again, docking, very frustrating. I will give a slight tutorial at the end of this video, just so that you can get an idea if you watch that long. So, you know, guys, you should watch that long. So there we go. I'm pointed towards the moon and my maneuver node, and I'm just going straight there. Hey guys, a little interruption in my post-com commentary, and I didn't want to re-record it, so you're getting 23 seconds of filler. Nothing but me, your favorite Toby. And, yeah, not much different. I'll sing for 2 seconds. La 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 la. Okay, back to the program. So here we are, guys. We're just moving along, trying to dock with our moon, our dear precious moon. Or not dock, what am I saying? There we are. So we're about to have an encounter. Now, there's one problem with this encounter. As you may see, we are going prograde towards the target. And the big problem with going prograde towards the target is means exiting or leaving the moon's stuff is going to be much, much, much more annoying. The reason being that you have to do a double burn, which means you have to burn on the back side of the moon to get out of its sphere of influence, and then you have to burn retrograde again, or no, retrograde, turn around, sorry, go retrograde, and you'll land on Kerbin. So what I normally like to do for these things is I like to go retrograde, even though it's a little less efficient for docking. It saves so much fuel later on for when you actually want to return to Kerbin, because as you'll see later, I'm going to have to do a double burn. And what happens here is I'm turning around, and what happens is when you're going retrograde, if you just burn on the front side, is it the front side? No, it is the backside. You burn on the backside. I'm not doing well, am I? I'm burning. If God, you burn on the backside of the moon, going retrograde, and it just brings your orbit down into Kerbin, and you could just get it straight into the atmosphere. Now, I have done the reason why I know that well is because I've done moon missions before, believe it or not. Um, and I also did another Kerbin Apollo mission before this, before I knew about the nuclear terrorists. Um, but that was just a test before I did it on camera, just so that I wouldn't waste memory space, of course. Anyway, let's say it was LegoTac, is that Nemesis, and Simtax 4797. I had LegoTac go out for the first dock when you're just orbiting Kerbin, and he died. Somehow he crashed into the landing can, and his body went poof. And so I had to send Zat Nemesis out to do it, and I landed him on the moon by himself. And otherwise I would have, if he died, I would have had to abort the whole mission and just save Simontax. But he also would have never landed on the moon, and he never had a chance. So, he's safe, but he's bored. Win-lose situation, I don't know. So what I'm doing now I'm in a stable orbit around the moon, is I just have to undock, and I can just turn away from my spacecraft and go straight down onto the moon. The M umlaut N, moon. So now I'm just going to try and push away from my annoyance known as my spacecraft. And then I'm just going to keep burning retrograde when I go down. I'm just going to burn, and I'm going to go in for a nice landing. You'll see. So there we go. Push the burn away. And then there we go later on. Cut to the landing later. And just turning the fuel on. Look at how happy I am. I am going to set foot on the moon. Take that, communists, you nuclear bombing thingies with a crater and whatever. They cannot get me while I'm on the moon, I think. Well, now that I think about it, that's a bit scary because there are a lot of craters on the moon. But those are probably just, those are rocks. The crater on Kerbin, that's nuclear bombing. Nuclear bombing. Guys, do not trust that crater. It is a nuclear bomb. So, just bomb them before they bomb you. So down I go for the landing. I'm using this retrograde vector correctly. Now, one thing you're going to want to know about this landing is that since this vehicle, since you want your vehicle to be most efficient, you're not going to want to put on any RCS or SAS because those things take up a lot of mass. You want it to be as light as you possibly can. So what that means is you just have to be as careful as you can when you're controlling this thing. So down I go onto the planet. I am safe. Now I will get out, and I will set foot on the moon. This will be one small step for Kerbins, and not much of a giant leap either because we've landed on the moon lots of times. But there's my jump. I've got uber hops right there, and now I just get back. Now, I'm not going to lie. Part of the reason why I cut is because it took me a million tries to just grab the ladder. It turns out I'm as bad as jumping in Kerbal Space Program as I am in real life. So now, I'm just getting my target correct, and I'm going to take off for the target, and off I go. Slowly. Now, I did this once already before, and I took off way too fast, and I took off too high, and I went kind of crazy in the moon orbit and went into interplanetary space by accident. But that's just because this is a very efficient system. Again, very, very difficult. So off I go. You're going to want to keep your thrust very low and make sure you're going sideways, because if you don't, you will mess up your orbit. So here I am later on cut, and there's my apoapsis. And now what you want to do when you're docking, you want to get in a lower orbit than your target. So that's the first thing you want to do. You want to get in a circular orbit from your target, and you want your target to be in a circular orbit. You don't want any eccentricity in your target, and that was actually a problem when I was docking this here. So there I go. I'm just circularizing it. And one other thing, there you go, the circular orbit. One other thing, make sure your planes are aligned. Now, if you are like really on the perfectly wrong side of your target, like if you are just barely in front of your target, then you're going to want to go into like, when you're starting, I mean, you're going to want to go into a higher orbit, actually. But normally it's just a lower orbit, just because it's a little bit easier, at least in my opinion. Because otherwise you're wasting fuel if you go into a higher orbit than you need to. So there we go. I'm just circularizing my target just so that I don't have to deal with the annoyances and problems that come with a non-circular orbit. And now what I'm doing is I'm just using my orbital nodes, which I told you guys, they're very useful. And then I use it again right here. And you can just align this perfectly. You can keep tweaking that, but it takes fuel and it takes a lot of work to tweak your rocket. So again, use the maneuver node system. One other thing, when you're docking, make sure your planes are aligned. You'll see your ascending node and your descending node. If you're at your descending node, then you're going to want to burn up. If you're at your ascending node, then you want to go burn down. I may or may not have that backwards, so just check really quick. Like, just do a quick burn, see what it's doing, and then figure that out for yourselves. But right there, I just got my planes. I'm circular. I got it to get a close encounter. Now I'm just gonna time accelerate up until, come on, time accelerate. Oh, yeah. Okay, maybe I'm just gonna burn towards it. I don't remember this very well, and now I have a cut. I am very flustered, but you see, I've after a lot of burning. It really takes a lot of practice. You have to make sure you use your retrograde vector and then point to the target and then retrograde again and then point towards the target. Make sure you're not going too fast towards the target or away from the target. You want to make sure that your speed is all set up. So it took me many tries to do this, and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of practice. I practiced early. I practiced in 0.17. And it was difficult because I was using landing legs as docking things. It's much easier now, but you still have to be careful. Make sure you're not going too fast towards your target. And as you can see, you'll still miss. You'll bang off your target. I actually blew off my engine once and had to load a quick save. But after about a few, 3 or 4 tries of just passing each other and getting really pissed off, I'm able to dock, and that's really satisfying. Once you do that, you'll be like, yes. So now, what I have to do is I have to transfer fuel, and what you want to do for that is you click on a fuel tank in one, and you hold Alt, and you click on the other fuel tank, and then you just click the in button or the out button, depending on what you want to do, and it will transfer fuel. So now you just get rid of that. By the way, I switched ships, so no need to worry. Also, make sure both ships are controlled, because otherwise it can be kind of frustrating. So there we go. That's my exit from the moon. And as I said before, you need to waste fuel by just blowing off all that velocity you had, rather than doing what you could have done if you were doing it retrograde around the moon. But that's okay. I'm not going to complain. I went retrograde, and I am even going to get a little assist from the moon here, and I'm going to just get it down inside the atmosphere, and that's really all that's necessary, because once you get it down inside the atmosphere, you should be good. So now here I am, I'm coming in, and normally you don't want it to be too steep, not because of anything like, say, I don't know, maybe burning up in the atmosphere. Does that sound like good? No, they don't have that in this game yet, and with good reason. It would be very CPU intensive primarily. So what I did was I just came in shallow just because I wanted to practice not coming in like so steep, and it's also cool just to know that when you look at your G-force meter, it's not going up to 15. When I looked at it, it didn't even go above 3, and that was very satisfying knowing that that's only like having a fat guy sit on you. So now those communists will not pass. So you see, I actually uh, bounced off the earth a little, but it wasn't too much, so I just came back down pretty quickly. And now I'm heading down once again. I'm just going to reach my apoapsis of 36,000, and we see when I start losing velocity, it'll actually be very, very gradual. I'm very proud of how nice I actually did this. So I'm just coming down for a nice little landing, and hopefully I don't land in their nuclear bomb site because that would be quite unfortunate. Going down, going down, going down, and you're about to see my parachutes deploy. Whoop. The reason why I cut to that brief clip was because it showed you that it only went up to 3 Gs. And there my parachutes are out. And we have landed. Take that, nuclear terrorists. I will see you guys next time. You can see their bomb site on the map right there. I have been Toby. I have been very Toby. Those nuclear communists have lost this battle and this space race so far. I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.